What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist, and I'm here with
Gershwan.
And today we're back at it to answer your questions in another episode of Snap, Crackle, Pop. You didn't do it.
No, I didn't know this. Okay, yeah. This is a video series where we answer the questions left by you, the viewer. If you have a question for us, comment down below. Put a question in front of your question because we get to those questions first. That is what Impulse in the Zone did. He asks, have Chaos Space Marines ever defected from Chaos and tried to rejoin the Imperium? Kind of, yeah. The Fallen are basically that. Well, Cypher is basically that. Cypher originally was one of the ones that betrayed his boy. What's the Primarch's name?
The Lion?
Yeah, the Lion. And then he escaped with the Fallen when the Lion came back. He escaped with Luther, right?
Luther, yeah.
And then
Not Martin Luther.
Not Martin Luther. Different Luther.
Not Lex Luthor.
No, different Luther. Yeah, I think Luther died, didn't he?
I don't think he's dead, no. Or
I thought he died. Either way, Cypher is one of those Chaos Space Marines that, like, he's considered Chaos Space Marine, but he's not.
he's a
really.
renegade. I don't think he's officially Chaos. I think he's a renegade.
But then that also means in the Alpha Legion are the same thing. Like, if you're not.
No, they're treated as Chaos because they sided with Horus.
So did those guys. So did the Fallen. That's what I'm saying. Like,
You got a point.
I think if it's Chaos, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're mutated. So as long as you're not mutated or you're not, like, hopefully dedicated to one Chaos God, then there's potential for you to want to come back to the Imperium. That doesn't mean they're going to take you back. They won't take you back.
Not at all.
Just like Cypher, like, they're still, like, it's still wishy-washy.
Even though, like, sometimes he's seen helping Chaos and helping the Imperium, they still want to take him, like the Imperium. They want to question him, torture him, try to figure out what's what.
It would be really cool if you created a Chaos Space Marine war band that was not chaotically mutated and was, like, worshipping Chaos Undivided at first. Or maybe it was just worshipping, like, the lore of Chaos. Maybe they were sorcerers or something. And now they're trying to work with the Imperium, but the Imperium won't take them back. So they represent kind of like an auxiliary to the Imperium, a Space Marine auxiliary to the Imperium. Kind of like the Legion of the Damned, but without the superpowers. No. Well, yeah, without the superpowers of being in two places at once and stuff like that. But yeah.
That's interesting because they're basically just a regular Space Marine auxiliary that nobody wants to be with.
Yep. Like if another Space Marine unit sees them, they're going to get attacked. Kind of like your Celestial Sons. Whenever we do, like, battles and your Celestial Sons are going up against, like,
Salamanders
or my Imperial Fist, it's always like, oh, these are guys that we're not cool with.
Mm-hmm.
We see them as traitors, but are they traitors? Check out the what is it called? 40 facts on the.
Is it a 40 fact video? No, I think it's just Codex Celestial Sons, and then it says a narrative or something like that.
Check that out.
Yeah. It's like 40 minutes. It's all I've got. And I've been secretly working on more stuff, so more's to come.
Next question.
This one is by Joseph Stonenaker. Question/theory for you. Is the Emperor corrupt or willingly ignorant? This may destroy 40K as a whole using one word STC. The reason I ask is because since he was there before the Golden Age and witnessed the fall of man, why did he not scroll away a copy of every STC ever created since they originated on Earth? He could have access to every single one of them. He also could have prevented them from deterioration and destruction throughout the long night. Or did he hide them away? But since he's just been interred on the Golden Throne, couldn't they just talk to him and he can provide either copies or the locations for all these things such as titans and weapons of the Dark Age during his crusade?
That's a really good question. It's a question that has a little bit of proof for both. I think the fact that the Emperor lost to Horus, lost his sons to the Horus heresy. What you pointed out, the fact that he didn't know about the STCs and he should have just kept an STC, kind of points out how he is a flawed man, and he was supposed to be from the beginning. But there is also a theory well, not a theory, but there is evidence to prove that if the Emperor is becoming a god and he's going to be a god, a chaos god, a chaos god has existed forever. So in a sense, the Emperor has always existed as a chaos god once he ascends to being, a deity or a god. And in that, he probably, kind of like Zinch, sees the grand scheme of things and kind of thinks like this is the only way. The best way to connect or to kind of understand that is Doctor Strange in the End Times.
Endgame?
Endgames.
End times.
You know how like he sees a bunch of possibilities and the only one where he sees humanity winning is like a specific one, and then they make you believe that specific one is not the one that played out because what's his name, the Star-Lord.
Oh, Peter Quill.
Yeah.
Or Star-Lord.
Yeah. He ends up like fighting Thanos or some shit. But then at the end you kind of realize like, oh no, yeah, like this is the only way. Like he foresaw all of that and he wanted Thanos to win, snap his fingers and then do all that kind of stuff.
Snap his fingers, do his stat.
Yeah. And that's the same thing with the God Emperor. Maybe the God Emperor knew all about this and he knew that his regular mortal form would act the way that he acted, so he did everything the way that he did because there's some end game like in the future that he knows about because he already exists even though he doesn't exist. Yeah. So there's proof for both.
Right.
And you could blame the warp not having a set timeline for the confusion.
Because like you mentioned, there's no time in the warp. You could go in, come out in the future, come out in the past. It's weird.
Yeah, because Slanesh has existed from the very beginning, but we know when she was born or he was born.
Yeah.
So it's confusing. There's evidence to prove both. It really comes down to we'll see what GW does.
Right. Because at the end of the day, it's really up to them.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think it's just the human mind unable to interpret the flow of time within the warp and outside the warp and how that intermingles with one another.
Yep. Next question comes from DeFool06. Can a human worship an Eldar god, or will the Eldar god accept and grant a human favor for his or her worship? From my understanding, a god is just the manifestation of an emotion. So yes, they can.
Yeah.
Would they get like mutations? Probably not, just because they're supposed to be minor chaos gods, and as a minor chaos god, you require more sacrifice in order to actually do something physical in the material realm. Whereas like a chaos god, like Slanesh can just give somebody tentacles.
Yeah. And it's also the people that believe in you, they're essentially fueling you to use your power manifested in the warp. So the more power that the minor god gives out to his followers, the weaker that god becomes.
Yeah, which is why an actual, I forget what they're called, like an Eldar warrior dude, has to be sacrificed. He'll never come back in order to resurrect the Avatar of Cain.
Right.
Or, it's not resurrect, but like bring an Avatar of Cain.
Yeah. And that's not even like that big of a deal to like the actual gods. Like the avatars aren't all that.
No, they suck.
Yeah. And
they lose to everyone.
Right. It's like, I'm going to give my life for this awesome being of destruction. Nah, dude. Don't.
Yeah. So a human, really, it wouldn't really be worth worshipping an Eldar god. You might as well just worship the Emperor. Hope for the Legion of the Damned to help you.
This next one's by Barrett Jensen. So I'm participating in a narrative escalation league where we need to generate a warlord. Can a Terran become a space wolf? Making up a backstory that a rune priest who was an orphan relocated to Fenris at 5 years old. So you're saying a Terran-born relocated to Fenris, can he become a rune priest?
Yes. And the reason I say that is because you could have been a child born on Terra, left to a different planet because you're trying to escape, whatever. You just make it up.
Why would you want to escape Terra for that matter? It's like the most secure place. But anyway.
Yeah, or like they just don't like the city no more. And then they're leaving, and then during their voyage, they get... they come across, what are they called? when the Space Wolves go on their hunts.
Oh, the Great Hunt, yeah.
Yeah, the Great Hunt. So during that time, and they might have like a parent or even an orphan child could have been like taken in as a serf, brought back to Fenris, and bow. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Or what would be really cool too is you could have been a Terran-born kid during the time of the Inquisition fighting the Space Wolves. The Inquisition sends the fleet to Fenris. They landed. They fought there, and maybe or no, not even. So it could be two Terran parents who are Imperial Guard soldiers fighting for the Inquisition on Fenris against the Space Wolves. They escape, survive with the tribes of Fenris, give birth. Well, then you would be a Fenrisian, though. You would be a Fenrisian coming from Terran.
Fenrisian born, but Terran parents.
Yeah. I mean, there's a way.
Mm-hmm. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah. It's just kind of tricky trying to figure out how you would get on Fenris.
Right. The thing with all these fan lores is I enjoy them the most when they actually fit in with the lore. Because you could just say he's a Terran born, but he's on Fenris, and everybody would be like, okay, whatever. But I think it's in my opinion, it's just cooler when it actually makes sense. So with 40K, there's always a way.
Because of the warp too, I just thought about that because we were just talking about timeless and all that kind of stuff. You could have just been a Terran born person. You get on a ship, you fly, you go through the warp, you land close to Fenris, and you have to crash land there, and bam, you just become a Terran born because of the warp anomalies. So yeah. In 40K, whatever you want can happen.
Yep.
Next question comes from Rick Franklin. Who is a better performer, Bridget B. or Lena the Plug?
Do you know Lena the Plug?
Funny enough, do you know who she is?
No, I don't actually.
So she is. I went to school with her. And she's a famous porn star now.
Really?
Yeah, she rode my bus.
What the heck?
Yeah, it's pretty funny. I'd still give it to Bridget B.
Interesting. Yeah, by process of elimination, I got to go with Bridget.
Yeah.
And I'm allergic to bees, so that says something.
Yeah. Next question.
This one's by Tank Guy 3. Which one of you is Alfarius, and which one is Alnerius? And which one is Omegon? I know it's not fair asking two questions, but here's the second. Could the psychic powers of the Emperor, Malkador, and Magnus the Red be powerful enough to destroy the demon-possessed blade, Dracnian?
I would say no.
Well, the Emperor couldn't do it. Malkador and Magnus and the Emperor, I don't know, that's...
Because if you destroy a demon, it just goes back into the warp, right, and they could just possess another sword.
That's true, yeah. But I think he meant, like, destroy it, like, eradicate it completely, kind of what the Emperor did to Horus.
Yeah, I would still say no. I think that certain things just can't be done. Maybe the God Emperor, not the Emperor as, like, a mortal, because he fought, or he tried to obliterate
Right, and he couldn't.
Yeah, when he was a man.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of psychic power if you think about it. But I think it's a possibility, but Dracnian's something else, though. Cabrón.
Next question comes from Rhino Calderon. Did Necrons encourage the cybernetics to revolt against humanity, which probably caused most of all the events of Warhammer 40K? No, probably not. The Necrons were sleeping during that time. They're going night-night. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of going night-night, do you think that when the Necrons all wake up, they're going to be like the next huge threat to everything? Or is it just like... it's never gonna happen.
If they all like woke up like that, yes, of course. They'd be like, because they have like physics defying powers.
Yeah, but I mean, that's just their gimmick. You could say, oh, the Tyranids are the biggest threat. They eat all biomass.
That's true.
It's like you're gonna die whether they're defying physics or eating you.
Like, That's true. I still think that the Necrons would be a big threat because they've been fighting like their entire lives and they're immortal.
And beyond.
Yeah. So yeah, I would say yeah, but the chances of all of them awakening at the same time is pretty slim.
And it's like if they have different rulers and dynasties, they have their own agenda.
Yeah.
Unless they're all being awakened by the Silent King.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
Because even when the Silent King was around, like the whole point of the war in heaven was to unify them.
Mm-hmm.
So they would really need to find like a core enemy,
Right.
which I guess would just be everybody.
Yeah. You're all my enemy.
Yeah. Those were the questions for today. If you guys have more questions for us, comment down below. Put question in front of your question because we get to those questions
first.
And thank you guys. If we didn't get to your question, just ask again. We promise we will get to it at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
If you see a question that you really like, hit that thumbs up button because it makes it easier for us to see it.
This was Gershwan,
the Sound Alchemist, and we are out.
Always used to put my freedom first.